got this article to me, and we just have to talk about it. This is super cool article called "The Death of the Interface" by Jeff Woods, or as a child used to say, Geoff.
Geoff. Yes.
Geoff. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder what your parents are thinking when they decided to call you Jeff with a G.
Yeah, exactly.
It's upper crust, right? It's
yeah.
Sort of that.
Well, I always thought with the Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer, I always called him all through high school and middle school, right.
Geoffrey, yes.
Right. And I didn't know. So anyways, so Geoff Woods is who wrote this article on the death of the interface, and it's dealing with AI leadership, AI coming into your business. And I just thought it was a great article. So give me some of your thoughts on it. Outline some of what your take is on it. This Jeff Woods interviewed basically Jordan Gerari, something like that.
Sure.
And who's a co-founder and CEO of Blue Label, an AI development partner, helping mid-market and enterprise companies implement more nuanced AI use cases. So basically, he's an AI nerd, and that's what I took from that giant sentence there. So tell me what you thought about this article, because I thought it was really, really interesting.
Well, I think the great thing is, and this came up after our last podcast episode, we jumped on your masterclass, which is fantastic. And I brought up this gentleman, Jeff Woods, because he wrote a book called The AI-Driven Leader, which is a fantastic book about integrating AI into your business. And he does this. This is actually a newsletter that I get from him. I think they're brought out, once a week. And he has of course, like everybody, he has a master class that you can join with some very, very smart people. And the gentleman that he interviewed is in that master class. And
wait a second, smart people, but we haven't been invited.
Well, I got an invite, but I didn't want to. I felt bad, so I didn't want to.
But I was looked over, and they didn't pay you what you wanted. Is that right? Exactly. You're holding out for a management position.
I'm like, I thought you were paying me to be part of your master class. But what really got me was the death of the interface. So we've heard this over time, right? Yeah. And
so explain that.
So it really started with my first takeaway is I call the revenge of Siri. So so many people. Wait a minute, I got to make sure I don't have any devices that are going to turn on right now.
Oh, this is hysterical. Absolutely.
But the idea around Siri was that you would have this technology in the background, right? That you would just talk to, and it would do all this stuff for you. And people were so, not only that, Alexa, same sort of thing, right? And for a lot of people, they shut it off. They shut off the audio. They do not want it to turn on because it really didn't add value.
Exactly.
I think what we're finding here, Brian, is the revenge of Siri is that the concept behind this is going to happen. So I want to tell you, I think you're a great test case. You've been using, I think, the audio version of Chat GPT.
Oh, the audio version of Perplexity. Yes.
Or Perplexity, excuse me.
Yes.
So just talk to that. So think about this.
Love it.
You don't have to you can have your phone in your pocket, right? And you can be talking to this thing. So when you think about an interface, the interface is gone. You're just talking to this device now. Right, there's no visual interface. There's no tapping anything. Talk about that experience with Perplexity. And again, this is my first takeaway.
Do you want the
revenge of Siri?
So with the revenge of Siri, I love that title. That is great. That's today's title. It is not the interface is dead. It is the revenge of Siri. So one quick story. My kids, the boys at least, Liam and Connor. Both 9 and 7, they got a hold of Siri, and on their little phones that we have, they're not. There's no cell data. We just have Wi-Fi for them so that they can play around with it, that type of thing. They're old phones, so they started talking with Siri, and I'm listening. So They treat Siri like we should be treating AI. They ask Siri everything. Siri, just no lie. This was one of the questions. Siri, tell me, what is heaven like?
Oh, oh, oh,
I
oh.
mean, this is Liam asking these deep, personal, theological, eschatological, anything questions. And I'm like, Siri can't answer that. Well, why not? So there is my point is with the kids, there is no limitation on what they ask Siri. Now, we should have that same perspective with AI. So last week I was like, you know what? Such a beautiful day. And I'm just going to sit outside, enjoy the sun, and just be a bum for like an hour. And I'm like, oh, I got to get something accomplished. I'm not going to take my laptop out because it's too hot, da 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 da. So I was like, I'm just going to talk to Perplexity. And so we hammered out an incredible strategy for rescheduling my entire week in 30 minutes. And I said, "Oh, that sounds pretty good. Let's go this way." And then I just had a conversation like I would with you on the phone, and it was fantastic because then the next day, well, actually, it was Monday. I actually just put it all down and copy and pasted the notes that were taken from my conversation on Perplexity, which is a great AI app, by the way, that you turned me on to. Thanks. Just it was great. It was fantastic. And I've changed my complete schedule to a high performing work week based on that 30-minute conversation in the sun. I loved it.
I saw that output, and I think that's when you had started using Perplexity, you got into the spaces.
Right.
And that's where you actually set up a space and did this work inside that space. So, I love this learning back and forth, as we both dive into that and look at it a little bit differently. So this was a complete, just a vocal interaction with, with AI.
Yes.
And it built out its entire schedule for you.
Yes.
And I think you put Perplexity into a role, right? You told it was was it a coach or something?
Well, so when you have it in a space, that's different.
Okay.
So this was actually just their voice option. The voice option, if I remember right, does not work in the space. You can talk a command out, but you can't have an actual conversation in the specific spaces. And for those listening, spaces are basically folders like they are on our computers. So that's for anybody that is not familiar with that. That's all it is. It's just a place where it's that specific. We like to use the word sandbox, where you're going to have them give a certain answer based on certain criteria and draw from only certain information if you'd like. So it's much more slimmed down parameters. But yeah. So anyways, absolutely love the interaction there. And I was consistently mocked by my kids and my wife while I was doing it. So much so I had to edit some of the content that Perplexity was picking up from the third party mockers.
It's interesting what you said with your kids and how they're using. Now, I'm not going to say the word anymore because it'll be interesting when we do our audio. When you said what your kid said, I have HomePods. They kicked in because they heard the question and they heard the keyword and just started doing the same thing. But when you think about,
if I say that word, will it screw things up on your end?
Yeah. So please stop. But the interesting thing is, what anybody that's developing a user interface, they should watch, potential users. But think about kids. They're the best to watch because they have no preconceived notion. All they do is they do what comes natural. So maybe if they would have showed kids early on, both Alexa and the other one, if they would have done that, maybe things would have turned out differently and people would have adapted it faster. But essentially what you're saying, and I agree with this, your interaction with Perplexity is the same as the interaction that your kids were having. It's just that the Apple AI, of course, they don't call it, artificial intelligence. It's Apple
Right.
intelligence. Well, theirs is above and beyond, right? So,
Yeah, we're getting higher quality answers. And the biggest thing I had to adjust was the fact of what I'm learning also as a parent is not to expect too little from my kids. A lot of times I hold them back. A lot of times I'm holding back AI by not pushing it with questions that are going to get me where I want, because I'm assuming I'm going to get an answer similar to what we have in the past, which is kind of lackadaisical, general, not really applicable to us, and something that we just have to keep on digging through. So I love what they said here. Jordan said, 5 years ago, we went from desktop to mobile. The next 5 years, we're going from mobile to AI. And then he goes on and says, the death of the interface, the removal of the interface, technology will get out of our way and it'll just work in the background for us and with us. So give me your perspective on that.
I think exactly right. I was thinking about this though. Maybe because 5 years is a long way off. If you think about how rapidly AI is developing, but today you still have to think about where are you putting this. And very much, almost all AI is you have to set a context. So even though you can have this thing sitting in the background, today you're still having a somewhat of a experience with some sort of an interface. Then it can sit behind the scenes and do something. So I wonder if it's today it's more of a lack of a ubiquitous interface. People are used to going on to the internet, whether it's on their phone or on an app. They're on their web browser. That's an interface where they're constantly going back and forth with. I see this which is what I'd call that sort of a ubiquitous. I think this is becoming less ubiquitous, but you still have some at some point you're doing some interface with the AI to set up context, set up role, those kinds of things. But down the road, maybe it's just constantly listening. And I think that's where it happens is there's a gentleman called Brian Romilly. I think that's the way to say his name. He's on X.
Yeah, it's
big
Brian.
AI guy.
That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, he's been around for years and years. And he talks about developing a personal AI, which is something that you have. It's not connected to the internet, and it's constantly listening and then working with you. That to me is sort of like the nirvana of this. So you're right, no interface because you don't have to type anything, right? There's no heads-up display, no glasses, no nothing. It's a conversation that you're having. In many cases, it's just listening.
Mm-hmm.
And it's understanding what you do, who you interact with, and then based on that, it actually can be used to coach you. So I see that on a personal level as being very powerful. Then take that to a corporate level, right? Well, how does that work? And one of the things he talks about is AI as a team member. So now you're saying, but I wonder, is that team member AI itself, or is it a individual with
assisting
AI?
a team member is what you're wondering. Yeah. Right. Well, I think that the quicker we can treat AI as a independent team member, much like we treat point of sale systems in retail. So we went from the register, which just tallies a sale, to a point of sale system, which gives average ticket sale, amount of tickets, collects all the data, what's been sold, inventories, everything, takes it out of inventory, puts it in inventory and everything. So we went from a register, which just records transactions, to something that can record the most important aspects of your cash inflow and outflow, for that matter. So I think of AI that same way. Of, okay, that point of sale system now in good companies has become a true employee. and a lot of the companies pay them like employees, basically. I mean, they pay a lot of money. Why shouldn't we think that way with AI? And I think that the only challenge for us right now, because we're right on the beginning phase of this AI wave, is we have to be very proactive in how we fit AI into our daily schedule, because it isn't part of our normalcy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's interesting when you talked about the point of sale, and I remember when they first started getting that information, and then you had the loyalty cards, those kinds of things. Then it became self-checkout. And I'm telling you, doesn't matter where you go now, the self-checkouts, people avoid them like the plague.
Yeah.
So there's something going on there where people are avoiding them, and even stores are starting to put, even at the self-checkout, they're putting an assistant there to help. I wonder how AI bridges that gap, because I am wondering, from your perspective, from retail, is
absolutely.
how could AI bridge that gap so that the self-checkout becomes, more normal and easier to use than it is today?
So I'm probably one of the few that that believes that self-checkout should be essential for small businesses, and that every small business should have a self-checkout. People are like, oh, what? I mean, that's like the sacred cow. Forget it. I will get hate mail and hate emails from this, guaranteed. And here's the reason why: we have to maximize the opportunity of personal interaction with the customer and with our employees. And people will be like, well, of course, then you want them ringing out the sales. No, I don't want them ringing out the sales. I want those sales to just be a byproduct of a relationship that has already been fostered in the aisle.
Oh, that's beautiful, dude.
And that's why the quicker we can use AI to get back tasks, back office, what I call non-front facing tasks, front facing meaning customer interaction tasks, as long as we can have AI minimize those so that you can maximize your personal interaction and your employees' personal interaction with customers, it's going to be a huge differentiator.
We've been talking about the retail the last number of episodes, and I love that, because now your team members are selecting the right product off the shelf based on the problem they're trying to solve. Once that's done, head on out, man. We've already had it, and that customer's going to feel great about that.
The sale, the end sale, or asking for the sale, or anything, however you want to say it, that last process, second to last, I call it the second to last process, actually, of the transaction being completed is just a forethought. It's not even considered. The last process, the last step is always the thank you. That's what I consider the last step. So
yeah, that is fantastic. How do you actually make this work? And I love this. What they advocate for, and this is something that Jeff's been talking about if you look him up, Jeff, Geoff Woods, and AI leader, go on YouTube and you'll find all kinds of videos that he's on, and he can go in depth on this, but it is find use cases to solve business problems. So what he's saying is that this is not, it was not an AI problem. You're solving business problems with AI. And this article goes in depth in, how to do that. And we've talked about this, but the most unique piece, and I brought this up when I joined your the mastermind group last week, I call it flipping the script. You set up the context and the role so that the AI is interviewing you.
Absolutely. Yeah, you did. That was a great point.
And so on the bottom of this article where it says take action, and we'll make sure we put a link on here how to get this, but where it says to take action, it actually creates the actual prompt that you can use to turn around. Because if you're not sure how to use AI, you tell AI, that's exactly what it needs to figure out from you is what problem are you trying to solve? Then AI can tell you, here's how I can help you, which is
Yeah, I love it.
crazy.
I love it. So at the end of this brief article, he talks about 4 action points. Let's can you go over those for the listeners? The 4 take action points.
So his CRIT framework.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
So it says ready to embrace Jordan's advice and explore what AI could do for your organization. Apply our what's called CRIT framework: context, role, interview, task. So context, and we've talked about this before. Identify or process or task that's repetitive or time consuming. Consider what part of the task involves information processing or decision making. Think about what success would look like if this process were improved. So that's context.
Yep.
Role. Have AI take on the perspective of an expert in your specific process. Ask it to act as a team member assigned to improve this workflow. Request it to identify where it could add the most value. So this is the magic right here, right?
Yeah.
You're using AI to tell or to find out how to use AI to improve your business.
Right. And I love that. And so the note that I put next to that was, don't you do it. Don't you do it. You ask AI. If you're confused, you ask AI. The conversation that I had with AI last Saturday, it was embarrassing. I didn't even know how to ask the question right. I was stumbling and everything, and yet it gave me a correct answer. So don't you just do it. You have AI do it. So yeah, go on. Number 3.
Yeah, so that was context and role. So I in the framework is interview. Let AI interview you about your current process challenges. Allow it to ask questions, ask about bottlenecks and inefficiencies. Use its questions to clarify what you really need. So that's the interview part. And then the last piece is task. Ask AI to propose specific ways it could assist with the process. Request it to outline what implementation would look like, and then have it identify metrics to measure success. Now, one thing Jeff did say in one of his interviews, he said, tell it to limit AI to the number of questions it'll ask, because if you don't, it will ask question after question, your question. So you can limit it to, ask me 2 questions about potential bottlenecks or inefficiencies, that kind of thing. But once you do this, Brian, you will get hooked.
Yeah.
It is so much fun because it's very little work on your part. You're just figuring out, again, context and role, and then you're letting AI run and asking you questions. And based on your answers to those questions, it'll tell you what to do.
And from a different perspective, because we were talking about this before we started recording, we might be bringing in somebody who takes an anti-technology perspective or a de-digitalization.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. So here's one thing for those of you who are like, oh, I don't want to go on into technology this much. I don't want to rely on AI this much. Think of it this way. The amount of time you spend interacting with AI, I would say, is 5 to 10 times, very conservatively, 5 to 10 times more efficient than being on the internet, searching and researching and trying to come up with a process for whatever your problem is. Would you not agree with that?
I'd say let's drop the mic on that one, because that's exactly why you want to do this.
Yeah.
It's like this biggest lever you're going to find in your business right now.
Yeah.
But not just taking any AI and just kind of running with it. It's finding frameworks like we just talked about.
Right.
To very specifically say, help me figure out how to best start applying AI within my business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I took away 3 things from this. And I love it. The context, role, interview, and task. On the context part, I think that can be kind of almost the most important part, because that's the beginning and the foundation part. Boil it down. Is this going to be something that's a low-hanging fruit, an easy thing for me to wrap my mind around, and just a subject that I can throw out there to AI? Or is it going to be something that is completely vexing and I believe has the highest ROI? So is it going to be easy? And I want to start with that, or do I want to start with something that I know will give me an immediate ROI? That's what I think of with the context aspect. 3 parts that I took from this great article: assume over ask. Don't ask AI, well, can you do this? Assume that it can do anything that you are bringing to it. So skip the process of asking, because if you have that thought in your mind, well, I don't know, can it do this? No, assume that it is the professional and it is the expert in whatever you are going to present it with. And it's kind of just a mind shift that we have to make. Number 2, be critical when creating content. So be critical in the feedback that you get with it. With content creation, I'm thinking mainly for small businesses. But be lazy with data analysis. So my point being, make it do everything possible when you have it in the back room for a backroom task, in the office task, or analyzing data. But when it comes to making content that you're going to use for yourself, be very critical with it and edit that to yourself. So there's just to use that. Those are things that I took away from it, and maybe that goes beyond.
Yeah, no, those are 3 great takeaways. I think if you're worried about doing this, I know a lot of small businesses use Canva.
Yes.
So Canva is an incredible tool. Canva just adopted Canva and a number of other like businesses just adopted the newest generation of image generation, and so Canva's using AI. If you use Grammarly, right? Grammarly is using AI. So you're probably already using some of these tools, even to write emails like in Grammarly, or if you're using Copilot, which I think we talked about, it's like Clippy back in the old days in Microsoft Windows. But you're already using it. But what Jeff is saying, if you follow him, is saying that's just scratching the surface. You need to find the 20% of the things that you do in your business that will have the most impact and start applying AI to it. This framework and the way he's approaching this, Brian, this is the way to go after that 20% and start to get the real levers in your business, the things that really matter, and start using AI to help you there.
Yeah. Biggest misconception you can have is saying, I'm too small of a business to use AI. The smaller of a business you are, the more you need to use AI and leverage it against the big guys.
100%. 100%. I agree.
This is good. Right, Brian. I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad. It's a great article. We'll give the link in on our YouTube channel for anybody that wants it. And hey, start playing with AI and have a conversation with it. It's great. It's great.
Right. And Deep Six Siri.
Deep Six Siri. Deep Six Siri. Don't tell my kids that. They're going to be mortified.